Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Shannonville Motorsport Park. Today we're in attendance at the Race Super Series, first race of the 2013 season. And this particular regional race is of interest to us in that our first national round of the Mopar CSBK series will be happening here in about 3 weeks' time, as a matter of fact. And Colin, we've got a splendid weekend for it. The racers qualifying here yesterday, and in the race format, they don't do it with timing, they do it with qualifying racing. So a good day here yesterday, and anticipate a great race here today.
Right, you are, Frank. And of course, the big thing that everyone's looking for is some good, warm, dry track running to get set up. And we've been lucky. Frequently, the early part of the season doesn't yield much in the way of valuable track time. And yes, some guys are warming up their tires there. That was a little disturbing.
Well, yesterday we saw Chris Garvey actually start the qualifying race from pole position, in that Garvey was the highest placing points rider in attendance. This series was actually won last year by Michael Leon out of Montreal, Quebec, but for whatever reasons, Leon has not made a reappearance. But again, the importance of this race, of course, Colin, is we have Alex Welsh, Jody Christie, and Jordan Zoke as three examples of riders that we normally don't see at a regional race.
Well, and those guys are looking for track time to get ready for the national, and what's interesting about this is essentially those are the three guys we most expect to feature at the front of the Pro Superbike feature race. So it's kind of, definitely a preview and an important race for these guys, because you got to put down your marker. Now, Jordan's on a new BMW, Alex knows his Suzuki, Christie has new Hondas, so there's definitely some teething going on too.
Indeed. And I should mention, by the way, that Alex Welsh won that qualifier, hence he is sitting in pole position. Jordan Zoke finishing second yesterday in the qualifying race. Big change also for our rookie rider, Trevor Daly. He's on that red Honda there. He had intended starting the year, Colin, on his own Suzukis, but he found himself so busy at work he just couldn't get the bikes done. So he put in a phone call to Ben Gardner at ProStar Racing. They cooked up some kind of a deal, and Daly's on Hondas for the year. Definitely on Superbike. Rumor is he's going to have a 600. We're getting ready for the start now. Chris Chappell, the official starter, and they are away and running, and it's Daly. Daly's got the lead. Trevor Daly has sprinted in the lead. He's got that ProStar Honda 1000cc Superbike out front. Colin?
Not bad for a guy in his first pro start.
Look at him. He's got 5-6 bike lengths. This is unbelievable. This is a rookie rider in his first race. Oh, here we go now. He's starting to mix it up with the fast boys now. Welsh moves to the inside and hauls Zoke along for the ride. Jody Christie sits back in fourth spot now, having a look at it. But what a great start. What a confidence-inspiring start for Trevor Daly.
Now, Daly left the door open. I think someone else, probably Christie, darted under, but he got pushed wide. It's pretty bumpy there in turn 3, and it opened the door for a lot of things to happen. Feel a little bad for Daly, but you learn that way.
Kind of surprised the way the riders spread out across the racetrack there, Colin. Normally they stack up and try to get into the a drafting situation on that back straightaway. That's a long, fast straightaway that brings him into turn 11, possibly the fastest turn on the racetrack.
And here we have Welsh and Zoke, and if that seems familiar, gee, that's what happened at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park the last time we had a national round.
Indeed. The finish of that qualifying race yesterday, Zoke was very, very close to Welsh, and sort of served notice at the end of the race, running past Welsh just past the start-finish line to say, I was here the whole time. And he is indeed there right now, and it looks like we've got a waved yellow. It looks like we've got a rider down.
I think that's a Triumph.
Oh, no, don't tell me. That'll be the number 27 machine of J.R. McRae. What a horrible start to his season. Triumph, Castrol Triumph, I should correct myself. Castrol Triumph doing a Canadian effort here, and J.R. McRae being chosen as the rider. Into the hairpin now comes Alex Welsh, and immediately on his wheel tracks is Jordan Zoke. Christie sitting back, perhaps a couple of bike lengths, but now they're starting to follow one another, Colin.
Interesting to see, too, that Alex looked back and had a good eye full of Jordan, and that's a big motivator when you're in second. When the guy in front looks back, it would have been much better for our race, I think, if Alex hadn't peaked.
Isn't there kind of an unwritten rule about that in road racing? You don't look back?
Well, that's the unwritten rule, but yeah, we've got some interesting action on. There's the brakes at Alan's turn. Too bad the cameraman's not a little sharper on this one.
Zoke on the move there. He moved up right alongside Welsh and definitely showed him a wheel, and of course that'll be a little bit of nerve-wracking. Alex Welsh now on that Parts Canada Kenwood Sound-sponsored Suzuki GSXR 1000. He's also getting some help from Suzuki Canada, which is reassuring. Jordan Zoke, on the other hand, is riding the BMW Motorrad Canada, Parts Canada sponsored BMW 1000. And of course, Jody Christie mounted on the Honda Canada factory bike, the 1000cc full-blown super bike this year for Jody. And of course, big help from accelerated technologies and forensic technologies as well. Onto the back straightaway they go. Our three top riders, Jordan, have got a serious amount of distance between themselves and those in pursuit.
And Christie chose to take the straight route that time. Let's see how close he is. And yeah, he actually closed up a bit. Alex wandering around and Jordan following to keep the draft is helping Christie. And the question is, how much longer is Jordan going to be patient to sit back? I think he's ready to pounce.
All three of these riders have had a lot of saddle time here at Shannonville Motorsport Park, but I think of all three, in terms of braking and passing, I would have to give a nod to Christie. He has been absolutely brilliant in that regard throughout his career, both at the Race Super Series and indeed through the Mopar Canadian Superbike Series. The kid knows how to use front brakes.
Welsh is riding the bike loose and of course spinning the tire. We know he's very aggressive with the throttle, and that may be distracting for Jordan just a little bit to have to find your way passing that. The track is a little bumpy in places, and not all the obvious passing spots will actually work when you take the track surface into account. And now I'd say Christie has closed up, if anything, and Zoke has to be concerned about the pressure. Here we go onto that back drag strip, and now we'll see how the horsepower goes. Last time Christie seemed to come out on top, but I think that's just because he took the shortest route, and this time he's hanging in with Jordan.
Right behind him, indeed. That looks so strange to see Welsh pull so far to rider's right. And we have had a pass. Zoke has made the pass at the end of the back straightaway, and it looks like Christie has an idea on that as well. A good move by Zoke. He stayed straight and made the pass. And Colin, I'll ask for comment on that. There was Welsh way out in no man's land to rider's right, and Zoke made the pass and darn near took Christie along with him.
Yeah, I don't know if Zoke knew that Christie was in his slipstream, but that may have helped them both. And now we have a big change at the front, and the question is, will Jordan set sail? How comfortable is he with the BMWs? He raced them last year, took the championship. These are two new bikes he's sorting out this weekend. He's only riding one at the moment, of course, but he doesn't have all the electronics he wants, and I think Christie also doesn't have everything on his brand new CBR 1000, so a little bit of R&D going on. And I know that everybody from all of these teams are at the track working as if it's a national this weekend. They're taking this event very seriously.
Yes, indeed. And as we watch our top three riders peel off onto the back straightaway now on the Fabi straightaway here at Shannonville, we note that they're not the only riders in this race. Fast starter Trevor Daly is still in pursuit, as is Chris Garvey and Louis Rafa. Rafa riding for the Coutier Racing team out of Quebec this year, and he's on the number 76 bike. And also self-sponsored and a man in a van with a plan is Matt Cooper out there in the 196 machine. And Inside Motorcycles columnist Steve Hofarth is out there calling as well. He'd been invited to ride in this race, Superbike race, from the amateur ranks.
One of the top amateurs on a BMW. You can follow his work on his column in the magazine. But right now I think it's worth noting, Frank, that amongst these top three guys are expected to contend for the title in the National Series. There seems to be literally nothing in it. Perhaps Zoke is getting away just a little bit, but really close between three very different motorcycles, different phases in their development. But right now, even with the different situations, of course they're all on Pirelli tires in preparation for the National, but really close. And I would say Zoke is not super aggressive just yet.
Could we imagine a scenario where a rider is purposely sitting back in second, purposely not winning the race because he knows he's got a lot of good cards and is keeping them up his sleeve until the National? Is that possible?
No, I think we're not going so fast that you wouldn't want to show what you've got. And I think in the end, when you get to about half distance, when they show those crossed flags, inevitably somebody wants to show that they're capable of winning this race. And it's my experience that Jordan Zoke never doesn't win a race that he could. That was poorly put.
Here they are peeling out of Allen's. Now they come through the corner that I call Nelson, in memory of John Nelson, the man that built this racetrack. But that is the final turn on this racetrack, of course. Down the front straightaway, peel off into turn one. They've established a little bit of a distance that seems equal between each of them. They're maintaining the same pace here, Colin, but they're not testing one another.
Yeah, and I think Jordan's just starting to settle down. I don't think he's riding that aggressively, but he's just hitting his markers. He's not distracted. I would assume his pit board's telling him he's got just a bit of time on Alex. He and Alex have, well, all three of these guys have spent lots of time on the racetrack together. So the question is, are the two behind going to mount a challenge? Are they comfortable getting towed along? Do they think that Jordan has a little bit more in terms of either setup or tire or speed? And I watched them on the back straight, and there doesn't seem to be really anything to choose between the three. You
know, there was a day, of course, Colin, when top Canadian riders would head down to Daytona, down to Florida or Jennings or whatever and get some off-season saddle time, but budgets and constraints being what they are, that doesn't seem to happen a whole lot anymore. So our early season races, again, are very, very important to these riders.
And it's a difference in rules too. Of course, Spec Dunlop down in the States, Spec Pirelli in the National Series. This race is not Spec, but most of the guys who are going to compete seriously in the National are running the Pirellis because you need that experience. You need as much time with the setup you're going to race in the big race. And of course, it's not very long from now they're going to be on this exact track with essentially these exact motorcycles.
I think Zoke's starting to get some serious distance here. This is a 13-lap contest, and Zoke is starting to stretch it out just a bit. They were playing that elastic band game, you know, where they kind of contract the elastic band and move up closer to the other rider.
So
but
your elastic band is my time, speed, distance is what you're saying.
That's the same kind of thing, yeah. Let me simplify it for you. They're spreading out again down that back straightaway. This time it's Zoke that heads off the rider's right. Welsh follows him and tags back into behind him as they move back onto the racing line and peel off into 11.
Alex was hard on the brakes there. He made up a little bit of time, I think, in the draft and decided to get aggressive on the brakes. So I think, if anything, he's closed slightly on Zoke, and it seems like now it's Christie who's getting scrubbed off. At first it looks like Jordan could lose both of them. Let's wait and see. I'd say Alex has closed it up just a wee bit.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one. I was going to suggest that if Christie is going to make up some time on the brakes, it will very likely happen down in Allen's corner, which is, of course, in my mind, the most famous corner in racing in Canada. You know the story behind it, of course, Colin, at the very first race that they held here at Shannonville Motorsport Park. It was Jim Allen that crashed twice in that corner. And,
in one race.
In one race. And the popular story was that he came back and won the race, but that was not the case at all. He came back and finished the race in second spot. It was, I believe it was Chris Hurst, actually.
Yep, it was Chris Hurst. I was there. I was a lowly junior at the time. I just started road racing, but I was at that race and remember watching it. And you know, we were all pretty impressed that Jim Allen was there with Ernie White's TZ250 and his Egley TZ750. But the 250 Jim Allen would always win on, only it didn't work out that time.
Nonetheless, he got a corner named after him that remains named after him to this day, and he's retired, of course, from AMA Pro Competition advisor on behalf of Dunlop Tires, and I'm not sure what he's doing in retirement, but
a lot of bicycling.
Is he indeed? But his name will live on forever, really. You know, a little piece of Canadian history in Allen's corner.
And I think Jim had enough of a career that everybody's comfortable that he deserves to have a turn named after him. Who knows? Maybe Jordan Zoke's going to have a corner named after him someday.
Indeed, he sure did a bang-up job for Dunlop. Did Jim Allen. And Zoke, of course, you mentioned that. Good chance that somewhere they will name a corner after him. He has intentions of being part of Canadian history, and of course there already is 40 Superbike wins already to his credit in Mopar Canadian Superbike racing, and 8 national championships. No one even comes close to him.
And there I think Jordan eased up just a little bit. He was slightly offline, and Alex immediately got going, and that's typical Welsh. He gets motivated. You give him a little bit of indicator that things could happen. There you can see him varying his line really deep on the brakes here as we swing through the turn off the back straight, and yeah, I think Alex is a wee bit closer. And
whoa, big slide by Christie going through 11. I was just about to say, what do you suppose has gone wrong with Christie? Do you suppose it's tires?
I don't know what it is. I know that they've been struggling to get all the various electronic parts of that new Honda working together. There's a lot of different systems that all have to interact, and he had a little bit of a similar but not the same problem with the 600 with his rev limiter, and just a lot of little teething things with brand new motorcycles, and it's frustrating for Christie. Of course, it's not that frustrating. He still can easily see the top 2 riders in front of him.
It always amazes me with these professional riders how they can get into a situation like that that scares the living bleep out of them, and still with all they come back and go just as fast next time around. Amazing stuff.
And here you can see this is where Jordan maybe lost just a wee bit of time, but not that case. He's probably slightly ahead. And of course, right here, it's so important to be smooth on the throttle, to get the power down, not get too aggressive, spin the tire, lose time. And there you can see Alex cheating to the inside, having a look, then he drops back to the line, and he's been ferocious on the brakes through here, and he continues to be so. Here's Zoke on that new BMW with the new paint scheme.
I don't understand. Another big slide by Christie. He's drifting it through there like a dirt tracker. I don't understand why Welsh is not, was not rather, following in Zoke's footprints down that back straightaway that time. He swung way out to rider's right, started pushing hard air, and didn't make up any time at all.
Maybe he's been watching too much Moto 2 on TV. Those guys take some pretty weird lines to try and break the draft. And of course, the rules are pretty strict about weaving. Nobody's been breaking them, but you're right at the limit of what the rules permit. You're allowed one move, basically, and you can follow the guy ahead. side, but no weaving because there's always the risk that you could clip bars or something like that. So what Alex is doing isn't wrong, but there's always that argument that the shortest distance is a straight line, and his trip up the back straight mostly isn't a straight line.
Well, speaking of the back straight, it's coming up, and here comes 185 horsepower per motorcycle, 1,000 cc's. What would you reckon is the top speed when they hit 11?
It's hard to say with this gearing, but probably a real 145 miles an hour, which is, you know, it's accelerating hard the whole way until you put the brakes on. It doesn't settle down.
And Welsh again pulls way out to rider's right, seemingly not wanting to take advantage of the cushion of air that exists behind that BMW.
Christie, a little more careful there. I notice he's changing his lines. He's expecting some wheel spin. He's given himself a bit of cheat room, but that time it was a little smoother, and I'm sure it's frustrating. He wants to ace his drive. He wants to hang in with those guys, but he's just not quite there.
Last lap flag now being shown as our race leader Jordan Zoke tows Alex Welsh down the front straightaway and into turn 1 at speed. If Welsh is going to make a move, of course, it's got to happen soon. Christie, I would say, is pretty much out of this card game, but it looks like we do have two stern players here with Jordan Zoke, the number 1 plate holder, and Alex Welsh on the number 7 machine. This being a regional race, actually, Colin, had Michael Leon come back and wore his number 1 place, Jordan would have had to wear the 101 in this contest.
No, and interesting, of course, Christie is number 1 in 600, and we got to thank him for the onboard video he gave us. A good view from 3rd place, and here we go. Alex is working the draft, Frank.
Alex right behind Jordan Zoke now, his head tucked down behind the plexiglass, making up some distance. We'll see if he's able to close up at turn 11. It's not going to happen. He's still got 5-6 bike lengths to close up, maybe 2 there. Getting right behind him. Is he going to take a stab at him going down into Allen's? We'll see what happens here. Jordan gets a good push going down to Allen, stands the thing up on its front wheel, banks it over to the left. This thing is a done deal. If Jordan brings it through Nelson corner here, the final corner, the right-hander drifts it out towards the wall. Victory is his. Zoke scores a victory in the first regional race of the year, and maybe that's going to set a tone for Jordan Zoke for the 2013 Mopar Canadian Superbike Championships.
Impressive last lap by Zoke there. I think that he got serious pressure from Alex, and he responded immediately, and there we go. Alex, who was second, is by the winner. That's always the guy who comes by first. On the cool-off lap is the guy who didn't quite make it at the line.
Right, so at race end, we acknowledge that John R. McRae crashing out in the first lap didn't get 1 lap to his credit. Steve Hofarth, however, did complete 1 lap on the 747 machine, and then Matt Cooper on the 196 machine, the other privateer, completed just 9 laps. The rest of our field completed the entire 13 laps, including in 6th spot, big wheelie there by Welsh, down the back straightaway as Jordan waving to the CRCA officials. Louis Raffa finishing up in 6th place after that contest. Trevor Daly a good run up into 5th spot. Chris Garvey brings it home in 4th, and of course our top 3 were Jody Christie in 3rd, Alex Welsh in 2nd, and Jordan Zoke, the People's Champion, in 1st.
And we got to say a big thank you to Dealey Harley-Davidson, Honda Canada, and of course Mopar for allowing us to come and get a little practice in preparation for our video coverage upcoming for the 2013 season, and we'll be seeing a lot of these 3.
Going live this year on CSBK TV. Race fans, be sure to tune us in. Zoke giving us a big wave there. The checkered flag goes in his boot. He's probably got a special holder, I bet, built into that left Alpenstar boot. And Zoke takes the victory lap. There he is. Well, we're back here, Colin, June 7th, 8th, and 9th for the opening round of the Mopar Canadian Superbike Series. Some big news, of course, is that we have new sponsors coming on board. An old sponsor coming back, Hindle is coming back, and that excites me. Hindle Exhaust, Canadian-made, will be the proud sponsors of our Pro Sport Bike class for 2013. And Magneti Morelli has also joined us in being the title sponsor of our Amateur Superbike class, and they're also going to sponsor our Super Pole.
Lots of good news there, and lots of support. Of course, that's what makes racing possible. It is a complicated activity.
Zoke draws first blood, albeit a regional race, but nonetheless against national competition. Jordan Zoke on the Parts Canada BMW Motorrad sponsored BMW S1000R.
And that brand new BM, literally right out of the box. This is its first race, its 3rd day of running on the racetrack. So that's about as strong a debut as a motorcycle can make.
You see why they call him the People's Champion? Look at the way he's playing to the CRCA officials, albeit, but nonetheless he is a very much respected and admired racer, and it's good to see him wearing that number 1 plate once more. And I got a sneaking suspicion he's going to carry it for some time to come. It's going to be interesting.
So hopefully it's not too easy.
I don't think Christian Welsh, amongst others, are going to make it easy on him at all. Well, we'll sign off here from Shannonville Motorsport Park. Look very much forward to doing the video coverage for CSBK TV this year on behalf of the Mopar Canadian Superbike Series. And again, brought to you by Honda, Dealey Harley-Davidson, and Mopar.